Okay, so this is our second unit, and then for the second unit, we're going to talk about linear functions. So we're going to look at how to form an equation of a line, how to draw a line, how to locate the points on the line, and so on and so forth. So it's going to be mostly about equations of the line and drawing lines. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go over quickly is how to locate points on the grid. Okay, so let's say you have your grid X and Y, right? X and Y, how do you find your points on the grid, how to locate them? So first, let's start with the definition of the X and Y plane. So the X and Y plane is also called the Cartesian plane. That's another name for it. So when you're looking at the Cartesian plane, what do we call the horizontal axis? So you have a horizontal axis, and you have a vertical. Do you know what we call the horizontal axis? So it's the x-axis, yeah? And then the vertical axis is called the y-axis. Okay? So the vertical is y, and the horizontal is x. So as you can see here, the horizontal axis and the vertical axis, they meet at one point, right? They meet at this point right here. Do you guys know what we call that point? It's called the origin. Okay, so this is where both the x and the y value are 0. Okay, so it's called the origin. All points can be labeled with coordinates. And expressed as order pairs x, y. So here's where I want your attention. So any point has two values, has an x value and a y value. Always goes in this order, alphabetical order. You know how you name the alphabet A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and then O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. So X is before Y. Same as with when you're naming your order, X comes before Y, okay? And then you're always gonna have two values, right? Let's say if X is 3 and Y is 2, okay? So that means X is 3, Y is 2. And we always put them in brackets. That's what defines a point. We put them in brackets, and then we put a comma between the two values, okay? So anytime you're writing a point, you're writing it this way. Brackets, the value of x, comma, value of y, close bracket. That indicates a point. Are we okay with that? All right. So if you're looking at the Cartesian plane right here, how many sections do you see? 4 sections. We call them quadrants, right? Quad comes from 4, okay? So the x and y plane is divided in 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. So basically, this would be quadrant 1, where x and y are positive. This is quadrant 2.
Why is that one 1?
Why is this one 1? Because we have positive x and y. Okay, we call it quadrant 1. Okay, this is how they mark them. They start from the positive quadrant and they move counterclockwise. Okay, which one is negative in quadrant 2, x or y? So which one is negative, the x or the y in quadrant 2? X is negative in quadrant 2. Y is positive, right? How about quadrant 3? Which ones are positive, which ones are negative? The x is negative. How about y? It's still negative. Both of them are negative. Okay? So both x and y are negative in quadrant 3. How about quadrant 4? Which one is positive? Y is positive? Just x. Y is negative, right? So if you look here, if you look in quadrant 1, both x and y are positive, right? So if I'm locating, let's say, point 2, 3, it's going to be right here because they're both positive, okay? We'll talk about how we locate them. If you're looking at quadrant 2, the x values are negative, right? And the y values are positive. This is quadrant 2, okay? Quadrant 3, the x values are negative and the y values are negative. That belongs to quadrant 3, okay? Quadrant 4, the y values are negative and the x are positive. Are you guys okay with this? Okay. And then this point right here is called the origin, and it is 0, 0. So I want you to add this to it. So the origin, and then 0, 0 next to it. Zero, comma, 0. So this is where your origin is. So when you are labeling your, when you are drawing the Cartesian plane, you always want to label your x and y axis. So you're going to have to write x next to the x-axis, and you always have to write y next to the y-axis, as I did here. And then you always have to put your numbers, okay? You can't leave a Cartesian plane without numbers because the scale can change from a person to another, okay? So always make sure you indicate your scale. And it always goes like this. Where they meet in the middle, that's 0. To the right of it, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. To the left of it is -1, -2, -3, -4, and so on and so forth. Okay? For the y-axis, origin, up, you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down, you're going -1, -2, -3, -4, so on. Are we okay with that? Yes? All right. Now, you have some points on your graph. So let me just put the points right here. So which points did I give you guys? Let me just open my notes 1 second. Okay. I'm just going to place the points. Is this M or H? I think that's M. So these are already in your notes. Did I miss any? I think that's it. Okay, now, can you tell me where's H? So H, point H is right here. Can you write that value? Can you tell me what that value is? So this is point H. So what's the x value? You always start with the x, right? Because remember, x, y. So what's the x value? That's right. X value is 1, right? So if I go down here, that's 1. And what's the y value? 2. So that's going to be 1, comma, 2, close bracket. How about k? K. It's right here. 4 what? That's right. 4, that's for the x value, and negative 2 is for the y value. So it's going to be bracket 4, comma, negative 2. Perfect. M. Negative 2. 1. Okay. How about P, which is right here? 1, negative 5. That's correct. So if I draw a line to the x and a line to the y, so that's 1 and negative 5. Q. Negative 5. That's right. And R. So R is right here. 3, 5. That's right. You guys got this. Perfect. You don't have to draw the lines. I'm just showing them to you so you know what you're doing. Okay? So question number 2 is asking you to identify where each of the 4 quadrants are located. I've already did that. So I've already put 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the different quadrants. Are you guys okay with that? All right. Now question number 3 is asking you to graph these points on the xy plane above. Okay? So what would 2 and 3 be? Anyone wants to come and put it on the board? 3. 2. So A, which is 2, 3. So where do I go?
2 this way.
Yeah, 2 on the x, yeah. And then
3 up.
3 up. So 1, 2, 3. So it's right here.
Yep.
Yep. So that is labeled as A, right? So first we're going to go on the x-axis, whatever the value on the x-axis is, and then you go toward either up or down for the y. And make sure you label with a letter, okay? B is 5, negative 1. So x is 5. And then which way do I go? Negative 1.
Oh, that is
Up or down?
Up.
Negative 1.
no, it's this side.
It's right here. Okay? Because that's where the x value 5 is, right? And then because it's negative 1, that means I have to go down 1. Right? So that's going to be letter B. So then we have C, which is negative 2, 3.
This also looks like mine. That's why
See, that's minus 1, but you have to look at the minus 1 in the y. That's minus 1 for the x. Okay? So where's negative 2 on the x-axis? Where's the x-axis?
On the left side.
Where's negative 2?
And up.
negative 4.
No, we're doing this one.
This one, yeah. There.
So that's negative 2. Where's 3? No. Where's 3?
Doesn't. There's 3.
Okay, so that means negative 2.
Yeah, go upstairs.
Yep. So you're going to draw it right here. Right? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So you start at negative 2, which is the x, but then you're going to have to go up 3 to get to your point.
Yeah.
Okay? So what do we call this? C. Okay? I want to try the next one. So negative 4 and then negative 5.
Negative 4 there. Go downstairs to negative 5.
That's right. So this is where your point is going to be. Perfect. Excellent. Thank you.
That's D.
That's D. Yep. Yeah. So where's,
The middle.
yeah? And then which way do you go?
And then 3.
Uh-huh. What are you going? 3 is the y value.
Okay.
That's right.
So here to here.
Yeah. So this is where your point is going to be.
Yeah.
So you're going to make a big circle. Yeah. And then what do you call it? What's the name of it?
E.
Perfect. Okay. Do you want to do the second one?
Sure. What was it? F minus what?
So the x is minus 4. So where's the minus 4 on the x? Yeah. And then 0.
Oh, yeah. So it's here.
So you stay right here. No, you don't move, right? So you start at the x, which is negative 4, and you don't move up or down because it's 0.
0. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is stay there. And then F.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you. So if your x value is 0, then you're going to start at the origin, and then you're going to look at where your y value is, and then you're going to go from there. Okay? Because it's 0, 3, that means I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go up 3. Do you guys see that whenever I do my x and y, so let's say this is this, right? And then let's say my point is 2, 3. Okay? So I don't put a point here, right? But I put my pencil here just so I know that this is where I have to be. So I put my pencil right here. I do not mark it though, okay? I just put my pencil at 2, and then I go up 3, and this is where I mark, okay? I don't mark it at 2. Make sense? All right. Do you guys have any questions about where the points are located? Or how to locate the points? It's very important to know where to locate the points because that's going to help you graph your lines. You need to know where the points go so you can graph your lines. Okay? Not only for this function, even like when later on you do quadratics or any type of graph, you're going to have to know this. Okay? So let's fill this one out together. So it gives you kind of the axis. Okay, it gives you a few things on the axis. And I asked you questions. So question number 1, it's asking you to name this axis. What do we call this axis? X-axis. That's right. So it's called the X-axis. Question number 2 is asking you to name this axis, so that's going to be the y-axis. Number 3. So number 3 is right here, and it's asking you to give the name and the coordinates of that point. It's called the origin, and what's the coordinate for it? 0, 0, right? Remember that coordinate has both values, x and y, right? So you can't just write coordinates for one value, okay? Okay? So for question number 4, it's asking you to give the coordinate for this point right here. So what would be this point? What's the value of x?
Oh, your X is 3.
3.
And 5 is y.
And 5 is y. Right? Because if I kind of do this, right, that's 3, and the y value is 5. How about this point? This point right here.
3 and negative 1.
3 and negative 1, you got it.
So this is just going to be like this right now.
Are you guys okay with this? 6 is right here. So give the coordinate of this point. What's the value of x? Minus 4. Yeah. And what's the value of y? Negative 2. Yeah. So it's going to be negative 4, comma, negative 2. For 7, it's asking you to find the coordinates of this point.
0 and 6.
Okay, this is where you have to be careful, right? What's the value of x?
Oh, value 0.
The value of x is 0, right? What's the value of y?
6.
6. So it's 0, 6, because it goes x, y. So it's comma, 0, comma, 6.
And 0, negative 3 is the next one. No.
What's-
sorry, negative 3 and 0.
That's right. So this one is on the x-axis, right? So the value of x is negative 3, and the value of y is 0 because it doesn't go anywhere. It just stays on the x-axis. And 9. Okay, so it's asking you, for question number 9, it's asking you how long is AB?
Okay,
So
negative
1, 2, 3,
or like that.
4, 5, 6. Right? So what I did is I started at A and counted, right, how many boxes it went from A to B. So you see that's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? So the length of AB is 6 units.
And the next one is 3.
How long is CD? Yeah. So if you go 1, 2, 3. Are you guys okay with this? All right. So for the next one, we're going to do one together, and then I'll let you guys try the rest. So for this one, you're going to locate your points on the grid, and then you're going to join them to make a shape. And then you're going to say what that shape is. Okay? So if I'm going to look at the first one, it's going to be negative 3, 1. So negative 3, 1 is, so this is the origin right here. So 1, 2, 3, that's negative 3. And then because I'm going negative 3, 1, so it's going to be right here. This is where my point is. Actually, I'm not going to call it A because there's no name for it. No, I'm not going to call it anything. What will be my second point?
3.
Okay.
And other side 3.
So 3 is on the other side, so that's 3. And 1 up, so it's going to be right here. Where would 3, negative 1 be?
Negative 3 and negative 1 will be up this side.
So 3 is right here,
Oh,
right? Because 3 is on the x. Remember, x, y, right? So 3 is right here. And then to go to negative 1, that means you're going to have to go down 1. So your point is going to be right here. So the point is going to be right here. And negative 3, negative 1. So again, this is negative 3.
and go down.
Go down 1. So if I join these points, what do you form? Yeah, because the fifth one is the same as the first, right? This one and this one are the same, right? So what kind of shape do I have? Yeah, it's a quadrilateral, but what kind? Square, rectangle, parallelogram?
Rectangular.
Rectangle. That's right. So the rectangle has parallel sides, right? Two sides are equal, the other two sides are equal, right? What do we call it if all the sides are equal?
Square.
A square, okay? And then you have, this is called a parallelogram. I can't fit it. Right? Because you don't have right angle, right? Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to try to draw B, okay? And tell me what shape it is. And then show it to me, okay? So I want you to draw B. Use different colors so you can identify them.